our speaker, very well known. We've never had this venue as packed as it is tonight, Jensen Huang. So Jensen founded NVIDIA in 1993. He's served since its inception as president, chief executive officer, and a member of the board of directors. NVIDIA is said to be the world's last computer graphics company to have been founded, but with Jensen's diligence and perseverance, NVIDIA survived and outstripped the competition. I'm going to skip most of the accolades, but I will point out that Jensen...
No, that's the best part.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Okay, I won't skip them. Jensen has received...
Really
Jensen...
this is going to be excruciating.
No. We'll do the short version.
Okay, thank you.
Jensen has received numerous awards, including the Semiconductor Industry Association's highest honor, the Robert N. Noyce Award, IEEE Founders Medal, and the Dr. Morris Chang Exemplary Leadership Award. He's been named the world's best CEO by Harvard Business Review and Brand Finance, as well as Fortune's Business Person of the Year, and one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people. So, Jensen, thank you so much for braving that terrible ride from San Francisco. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us. We're sold out. The students are all very excited to hear you. First, Jensen, I think you'll say a few words to our audience, and then our MBA students, Ryan Tan and Renee Yao, will moderate today's discussion.
What to say? Well, I thought everything that was most important to say, she did so nicely say. First of all, thanks for the introduction, and it's great to be here. I am now, I think, the longest running tech CEO working today. I've been working in tech for 30 years. It's a incredibly fun job. I can tell you that, and that's why I do it. It is a incredibly good job and it's a privilege to do it. You're surrounded by amazing people. In our case, we had the benefit of pioneering a new way of doing computing. This new way of doing computing has solved and is solving some of the world's greatest challenges. We're really pleased to be working in digital biology to climate sciences to artificial intelligence to robotics to video games. Just, if you wouldn't mind, how many of you have played video games on NVIDIA GeForce? And so I want to thank you for that. And how many of you are AI researchers or developers that have used our GPUs for developing AI models? That's really terrific. So it's great to see that. It is a rare privilege to be part of a company that isn't just a good business. NVIDIA is a good business for sure, but it's a good business that also makes a great impact on the world. And the work that you do is really important to other people. And so the combination of running a good business and the skills of doing that, I had to learn along the way. A purpose of a company that could make such great impact on the industry and markets around the world and society is a great privilege. And then also to have done something that the world's never done before and do it for the first time. Singularly the company that invented this field of computing, it's just incredible fun. And so hopefully tonight we'll get to share some of the learnings that I've gained along the way. I didn't have the benefit you did, which is learning a business in a formal way. I learned business in the way of doing it, and all along the way, I discovered and realized that there was a lot to learn. Some of the things that I've learned along the way, I try to pass along to all the leaders of our company. But this is the business part of our company, the strategy part of our company is some of the hardest things that we do. And the reason for that is it's so ambiguous. And it's not just about what you do, it's about what everybody else does in return. It's about what the competition does, it's about what the industry does, what the customers do. And so it's an incredibly hard problem to simulate, and an incredibly hard thing to learn how to do. But I had the benefit of learning it over the course of 30 years. And so hopefully tonight we'll get to talk about some of those things. Okay? All right. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much, Jensen. We're all really excited for you to be here. I'm Ryan. I'm a second-year MBA student, and I'm honored to co-moderate this discussion with you with Renee. Let's get started. So our first question is on starting NVIDIA. So in the crowd, we have many aspiring tech entrepreneurs that are close in age when you first founded NVIDIA. Can you tell us a bit on how you came to start NVIDIA? What was the spark that led you to start this amazing journey? Do you have some advice for some of the entrepreneurs in the crowd who plan on starting their own journeys one day?
Whatever you do, don't start a graphics company. NVIDIA being the last, I've always said that NVIDIA was the last computer graphics company founded, and that says something about strategy. We were one of 100 computer graphics companies, and also the last one founded. How is it possible that we're the largest in the world today and the only one remaining? There's a strategy study in there somewhere, and that suggests that being first is not necessarily the best. You could argue that being the first 99 isn't the best, and sometimes being last is not necessarily even the worst. But I do hope that we are the last, if you get what I mean. The battle between two computer architecture approaches over the course of time, using processors on the one hand, which is general purpose, writing software that does just about anything that runs on a computer, versus an acceleration method, has gone on for a very long time. And about 30 years ago, Chris and Curtis, the two other founders of NVIDIA, wanted to do something different, and they wanted me to join them. I was really happy with my job, and we had two great kids and a great dog, and we had a great family, and so I was perfectly happy doing what we're doing. But they insisted I join them and to do something, and so we, the three of us met on a regular basis at Denny's, and then we conceived of what NVIDIA is today, an accelerated computing company, and that was really as simple as the beginning as anything. I don't think that startups need to form out of extraordinary angst or incredible opportunity. We were three good friends, and we remain good friends today. There was an opportunity to work together, and we had to go figure out what to do. And so I think that entrepreneurial approach to solving problems, looking for opportunities, persists to this day. It could be a random Tuesday, and we're trying to think of something new to go do, or something we can do with something that we know, or an opportunity were to arise that we can go take advantage of. And the company is reinventing itself all the time. So this basic method of seeing problems or seeing opportunities, or just happens to be Tuesday, creating something out of nothing is a skill that I think every company or every startup needs to have. We apply that basic method all the time. We don't have to reinvent ourselves during a tough day. We don't have to reinvent ourselves because an opportunity arises. We invent ourselves, because we do. And so just the energy of looking for something new and a new way of doing something is always there. It was a compounded question of a lot of complexity.
Sorry about that.
Advice for entrepreneurs.
The what?
Advice for entrepreneurs.
Advice? I've only done it. You guys know, I've only done it once. There's something about. I don't want to set the expectation that you're going to get any wisely, sagely advice. I've only done this once, and I'm still learning on the job, and I kind of feel like that's the wisdom. There isn't, I was no different than you guys except less prepared, and everything I did on the job. I still remember it was about February or March '93, and it occurred to us we needed money, and the place to go get it is venture capitalists, and the way you do that apparently is to write a business plan. And so I bought a book. I mean, the obvious thing to do is you buy a book, and so I bought a book, and it says how to write a business plan. Now back then, how to write a business plan is not a TikTok video. I wish it was. And it wasn't even a YouTube video, but it was like 490 pages written by Gordon Bell. And Gordon Bell is just a fantastic guy. He was the founder of DEC. He was the chief architect, chief technical officer, and I think he's a fellow now at Microsoft. And just an incredible guy. And so anyways, and he started Ardent Computer, and then I met some amazing people at Ardent Computer, John Rubinstein for one, and so anyways, he wrote a book on how to build a company, how to start a company, and it was like 490 pages or something like that, and if I would have read the whole book, there's no way NVIDIA would be in business today. And so I glanced through it, read, kind of skimmed through it, and tried to write my business plan. The truth be told, NVIDIA never finished the business plan because I never could finish it. And I'm not really even too sure how to finish one today. And so I do remember this. Our VC, Sequoia Capital and Sutter, incredible venture capitalists, they asked for a business plan, and so we put a business plan together. And I could tell you that our forecast was off by so much. I think I could imagine guessing. No, there's no way to guess even worse than that. And so we were off by so much. Nobody would have expected the market to be this large. Nobody would have expected our company to have taken so long to have gotten off the ground, and for the CEO to take so long to figure it out. And so all of that stuff was really, really hard to predict. And so your question is probably, why are we here? So I hope I can figure that out tonight.
NVIDIA is a great company, and
Yeah.
for those who I haven't met yet, my name is Renee. I've been working at NVIDIA.
Oh, I was going to give him an advice.
Oh, yes.
Just get to it. Yeah.
Just get to it. Yes, great advice. I've been working at NVIDIA for coming up 7 years, and I lead 2,000 healthcare AI startups that are in our Inception program.
Renee is amazing.
Thank you, Jensen. NVIDIA is a fantastic place to work. So for those who may not know a lot about NVIDIA, NVIDIA is actually not built like many of the large organizations in the industry with no regular P&L, no business units like many others you can see in Google or Microsoft and others. And it's an extremely flat organization. Between me and Jensen, there's only 3 other executives in between. So it's very, very flat. And there's no org chart. We are volunteers that reports to mission. And many people think we're a graphics company or a gaming company, but NVIDIA is actually a full stack company for all industries you can think of. Retail, finance, oil and gas, manufacturing. And more interestingly, we are a fabless semiconductor company, a cloudless cloud company, a manufacturing company that don't have our own manufacturing. Jensen.
That sounds like a company I want to join. I just don't.
Right?
I just think the expectation tonight is way too high. and that could very well be the wisdom you take away. There is a belief that CEOs are extraordinary, amazing, really knowledgeable, really skilled people, and that's just not true. It is not true. We're not incompetent, uninformed, really super lazy people either. I don't want you to think that either. However, I hope the one thing that I convey to you guys today is that in fact you probably have everything you need to be a great CEO, and already. And if there's anything that I inspire you to do tonight, is just to go do it, but just don't start a graphics company. But what was your question? How did I do it?
It was more like, how did you decide on such a model for NVIDIA?
That question is so loaded, and it's hard to answer. But let me tear it apart. Okay, let me tear it apart. There's a part about what does the company do? What does the company do, and for what reason it does it? That's a really, really hard thing to figure out. And you don't have to figure it out one day, or you have the feelings for it, but you don't know how to put it into words. And the reason for that is because probably 30 years ago, the concept of cloud computing didn't exist. Maybe 30 years ago, nobody would have believed artificial intelligence was possible, or accelerated computing was a thing. And so until these words come into existence, it's okay that you don't have the words to describe it, but you need to know what does the company do and for what reason it does it. There's the second part, which is in what environment does this company exist? What kind of environment is it? Is it a nurturing, stable environment? Is it a hostile, volatile, dynamic environment? And because by understanding what environment your company is going to be in, i.e. the industry and the technology that governs it, the fundamental dynamics of the industry, by understanding some of these things, and that's the reason why if you're in the technology industry, having technical sensibility is really important. You can't be ignorant of the fundamental dynamics of the vehicle you're trying to build. You know, the fleet you're trying to build, the ship you're trying to build. And so understanding the fundamental dynamics of the industry is really important. Now, based on those dynamics, it causes you to think about how to architect this machine, this machinery. This machinery is essentially what NVIDIA is. NVIDIA is a machine that builds a bunch of other machines that other people would call products. And so, but it's a machine, and this machine has to be architected in a thoughtful way. That is the fundamental job of the CEO. And then the next part of it is, how do you operate this machine? What are the rules that governs the operations of this machine? Because there will be many conflicting requirements of this machine. And this machine will be dealing with all of those conflicts in a really distributed way, because you can't possibly be governing everything overnight, all by yourself. And so you have to empower amazing people like Renee to be able to do some of these things. And so what are the values that you encode in all of the people that you empowered? What are the principles by which they operate? What are the operating manual, if you will, of this machine? And some people call that culture. Some people say those are procedures and processes and best known methods. There are a lot of ways to describe some of these things. But basically is, what is this thing that we're doing? What does it do and for what reason? What is the architecture of the machine and why? And then how do you operate it? In a very large sense, all CEOs have to work those things out. Now, the thing that I optimized for is our industry, at some point, for the vast majority of my computer industry experience, it's been largely governed by Moore's Law. But we knew that Moore's Law was going to run out of steam. And at some point, the type of problems you want to solve are, and in our case, the type of problems we want to solve are the ones that either Moore's Law can't solve, or in the time of Moore's Law, it's barely possible. And so we came up with this way of doing something called accelerated computing. Well, our world requires deep invention and a lot of discovery that hasn't been done before, because we're the only company that's done it. And so you don't know exactly what the recipe is. You don't know exactly what the framework's going to be. You don't know exactly how to go do that. And so we architected a company that optimizes for a lot of innovation to happen, optimizes for a lot of agility to happen. So for example, if we discovered, hey, this is a great new path, this is going to work, we could swarm the company towards it. We could shift the company, pivot the company to it. And to be able to do that, you need a company that allows you to do it. And these are some of the things that you'll learn as you operate large companies, is that the CEO needs to create a system that allows the CEO your will, or the collective will of the organization, to change the course of the company. How do you do that? How do you change the course of a company? At NVIDIA, I could change the course of the company, of course, with the support of all of my, all of the leaders that work there and all the amazing people that helped me realize that we need to change the course of the company. But I can change the course of a company within an email over a weekend. No large organizations have to change. You don't have to change your reporting structure. You don't have to change your boss. You don't have to change your office. And these days, you don't have to change where you live because you're working at home. And so we created an architecture for the company that allows for maximum agility in the event we discover something great. We also invented a company that allows us to create a new type of computing. And if you want to create a new type of computing, nothing exists. And you have to create everything from scratch. So everything from the architecture of the chips, to the way the chips are designed, to the way the systems are built, and the system software that runs on it, and the algorithms that runs on it, and even more than that, the applications or the industries that use it, all had to be invented from scratch. And so here we are sitting in the middle of nowhere. We were in Fremont. We had 3 people. And we're imagining this new world. And everything from computer graphics to, scientific computing would be solved. And how would you go about creating a company that has such an influence across the entire stack and such influence across the entire industry? And so that's the part that we had to go invent. And as a result, if you look at NVIDIA's architecture, the organization, and I show NVIDIA's org chart all the time, it just doesn't look like an org chart. It looks like a computer stack. And the company is actually architected like a computer stack. And so why would you do such a thing? Why would you build a company, a machinery company, whose organization looks like a computer? Well, that's more sensible to me than to create a company whose architecture looks like the military. If you think about it for a second, business units, divisions, maximizing autonomy, but more importantly, what managers really want to do is maximizing accountability, as if you really can control the outcome of your business. They hold you accountable. I think those are really quite antiquated ideas. They might work in some large companies, well, we're not a small company either. They might work in other companies, but I never felt that making somebody promise that they're going to do something will optimize the ability for them to do it. And because you know that I don't believe anybody should fail alone, just because somebody says, oh, I'll do $1 billion, whatever, and I promise to do it, I'll sign up for my compensation. If I do better than that, I'll pay more than that. I do less than that, I'll get paid less than that. And they sign up for that. That doesn't give me any comfort at all. And because there's so many other people that depends on it, that should give nobody comfort. And so I decided to build a company that maximizes for collaboration, reuse of the things that we build, leverage, and as a result, we didn't minimize, I guess, we probably diminished the ability for somebody to say, hold somebody accountable through business units and financial results and divisions and autonomy and all of those things. But it's just a fundamentally different way of thinking about the architecture. And the way that I would advise, and maybe the close with an advice, is that we always think about the problem we're trying to solve from first principles, and whether it's the company we're trying to build, the product we're trying to build, or the organization we want to try to build, you have to go back to what is it that we are optimizing for? What do you want this machine to do? And what do you want the behavior of this machinery to be, this organization to be, in the event of external circumstances, changing circumstances? And so by doing that, we came up with the architecture we have today.
Thank you, Jensen. That's very comprehensive.
So you had mentioned some Moore's Law, interesting problems we're trying to solve. And so I want to touch upon NVIDIA's role in solving the world's greatest problems. So NVIDIA's technologies is involved in some pretty innovative projects, from healthcare to sustainability and more. Some interesting projects include carbon capture AI, decoding the COVID spike protein, speeding DNA sequencing to a single day, predicting extreme weather. Can you tell us what are some of your favorite projects that NVIDIA is involved in? And are there any other projects that we should be aware of, but may not have heard of yet?
Large language models.
Funny you should ask. I wanted to share that with you all day. I wrote a list. Let's see. You know, I said earlier that it's great to have a company that does good business, but it's able to also make an impact. We do good business so that we can make an impact. That should be the purpose of all companies. Business, making a lot of money, generating a lot of cash, creating a lot of value, gives you the opportunity to be able to do great things that otherwise would probably not get done. And so you mentioned a lot of good ones. I mean, the work that we do in digital biology and healthcare, you can't do without a company of our scale. And you have to be a company of our scale that's willing to leverage a lot of the technology that we built for some other purpose to direct it and channel it at this really important cause. Because without us doing something like that, being clever about taking something that has a day job and channeling it towards healthcare or climate science, material sciences, and other really important areas, without us doing something like that, this area of science would not be big enough to be able to support the level of investment that we put into it, the virtual investment that we put into it. And so that's the part of the cleverness of the company, to find ways to leverage what otherwise has a day job playing computer games, but realize that the architecture with new algorithms is really fantastic at climate science. And so for us to adapt this platform in this way allows us to both drive a great business, but us also drive great impact. And so that gives us a lot of pleasure. And when I mentioned earlier a company with great business, but also a great sense of purpose, this is really at the heart of that.
And talking about well-run business, one of your favorite books is The Innovator's Dilemma. Hopefully many of you guys have read that book. And the lesson learned that most people got from that book is that a well-run business can't afford to switch to a new approach that ultimately will replace the current business model until it's too late. And you mentioned actually on one of the VC panel at GTC a couple years back that NVIDIA almost went out of business 7 times. Many people probably don't know that they turned the company around over and over and over again. Could you share with us that experience, and perhaps looking forward, what are some of the market indicators are you looking for to continue to time ahead of the market transitions?
Mm-hmm. Well, in the beginning, we were just bad at our jobs, and I just, you know, I don't know how else to say it. The first 5 years of our company, really talented people. Working super hard, but building a company is a new skill. There's nowhere in any books that would properly describe the circumstances that you're going to be in. You're going to learn a lot about both just building with so few resources, number one. Number two, the immense resources of the competition. You know, if your company is $100 million large, and your competitor's $10 billion large, you know it's possible for them to give away the product to keep you at zero. And so the question is how do you break into an industry that by the time that we showed up was relatively mature, and you know, it's hard to tackle exactly one. At the moment, but I think a lot of it has to do with simultaneously learning how to be a company, learning how to build products, a whole bunch of strangers coming together for the first time, dealing with competition that is really quite immense, trying to build a new product that the customer didn't even realize they wanted, and an ecosystem, an industry that doesn't know how to value the product that you built. There's just the list of issues for a startup is just immense, and you know, I don't know that there's any code to share with you aside from you've just got to get to it, and I think that ignorance was not realizing it was impossible to do, You know, looking back at NVIDIA, I would say building NVIDIA doesn't make sense. The fact that we would build one of the world's most important computing approaches in the world that we're in, and built up ecosystems all over the world from all of the industries that you've mentioned, and being such a small company still, we're only 28,000 people large, and you know how large the computer industry is, and many of the companies were a fraction of just about anybody's company. It's kind of hard to imagine, and I think that the thing that it never occurred to me that it wasn't possible when I was at your age. If you asked me to do it today, I would tell you flat out it's not possible. Building the next NVIDIA is just not possible, and for a lot of reasons, I will tell you it's not possible. But at the time, I didn't know that it wasn't possible, and that is your great gift. In a lot of ways, you know, I think you want to stay in that you know, naive state for quite a long time. I don't mean naive and uninformed. You know, I was naive and constantly learning and constantly reading. Some of my favorite books, one of them is Positioning. Al Ray's, I think it is. Is it Jack Trout, Al Ray's? A really fantastic book.
Positioning, the battle for your mind.
Yeah, that's it.
I read every single page of them. Please read the one that have the sidebar footnote that tells you years later what happened to those leaders in the making of decisions. We actually, NVIDIA learned a lot from that, like less is more and other things.
I read that when I was in my 30s, and it was a really good book, and it taught me a lot. And the reason for that is because during board meeting, one of our amazing board members, Harvey Jones, he's asked me a simple question. He says, a really simple question. At the time, I had no idea how simple it was. It was impossible for me to answer because I didn't understand it. You know, I was 30 years old at the time, and Harvey said, "Jensen, how would you position this?" He wasn't asking about features and benefits. He was asking, how would you position this? You know, where in the world would you, where in the mind, in the context of the ecosystem, in the context of competition, how would you position this? Now, it was a simple question. The answer is supremely deep. You'll spend your whole career answering that question. But the sooner you realize that question exists, the better off you're going to be. And so my question is, you know, whatever idea you want to start, partly is what does it do, but partly how are you going to position it? And so if you start answering that question today, that'd be great.
So you mentioned some of the headwinds that NVIDIA has overcome. And so I want to pivot to over the short-term outlook of the tech industry. So a lot of MBA students choose to come to Haas because of its strong role in tech and tech recruiting. However, in recent months, the tech industry has been hit hard with massive layoffs announced across almost all major tech companies. NVIDIA has not announced any. I have to be careful what I say. I have to be careful what I say. Has not announced it. While the students,
boy, the electricity in the room changed.
While the students in the crowd are afraid to admit, but many MBA students...
There was a nervous... and the CEO had a nervous laugh. And his eyes became shifty. He started moving about in his chair.
So many of the MBA students are afraid to admit it.
He became less animated. Generally more reserved. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. What was your question?
Sorry about that. I didn't. So many MBA students here are afraid to admit, but they are nervous.
We're in our quiet period. I'm just kidding. We are in our quiet period.
So many of the students here are nervous about their employment prospects. What are your thoughts?
Wow. This question is going to be hard to answer. Go ahead. What is it? We're not hiring.
What are your thoughts on the recent headwinds in the tech industry? And do you have any advice for current MBA students who were once considering the tech industry and maybe having second thoughts?
No, the tech industry is great. These questions are so compound, don't you guys think? And ambiguous. The tech industry is fantastic. I don't know what could be a more important industry in the future. And the reason for that is because it influences so many industries. You could argue NVIDIA is in the pure tech industry. There are some tech companies that are in the internet services industry. Obviously, they're not in healthcare, or they're not in forestry, or they're not, so on, so manufacturing, or so on and so forth. But we are in the pure tech industry, and I can tell you that the pure tech industry is incredible. And the reason for that is because obviously it's at the core and the foundation of everything every single industry, and every industry is going to be a tech industry in the future to utilize the technology we create. And so I love the work that we do. The environment is challenging. It's very tough. The environment is very tough, obviously, and there are friends that have been laid off. There are colleagues that have been laid off. There are spouses that have been laid off, and so it's tough out there, but it will pass. The size of the tech industry is 1/10 of what it's going to be, 1/100th of what it's going to be, and so I think this is one of the most vibrant industries in the world, most exciting industries in the world, and most impactful. And so I would encourage all of you to consider it. And with respect to the advice in the near term, you've got to be resilient to be great. There's one thing, there are a lot of ways you could describe me, but resilient has to be on top of that list. I've seen a lot of tough things, and the company has been on its back multiple times, as Renee said, and we have challenges from the environment, from the economy, from competition, from all kinds of places, but you just have to keep a positive outlook and just keep walking past it. I'm always moving forward. I'm not ever moving forward too fast, but I'm always moving forward. And people ask me, hey, how's your day? And I usually say, good enough. A lot of people say, incredible. It's not incredible, but it's good enough. It's good enough for me to want to keep on going every day, and I'm loving it plenty much, and I wish it was better. Some days it's better than I thought it would be, but it's all good enough. And I think this even-keeled attitude, resilience towards into the future has really served NVIDIA well, and we have leaders in our company that have been there for a very, very long time, 30 years. I've been there for 30 years, and there are others that have been there for 30 years, and my hope is that we work together for as long as we shall live. This attitude about building companies instead of revolving doors, and somebody makes a mistake or misses a quarter and they're out, or they miss a commitment, they're out. I think that way of building a company is really not very productive, and it's not very long-term minded. And my advice to you guys is it's a bad year. It's not going to be the only bad year that you're ever going to enjoy, I can't even tell you this is going to be the worst year, but your attitude should be, it doesn't matter. Your attitude should be, it doesn't matter.
Thank you,